Nizar Farsakh, who is a lecturer of international affairs at George Washington University. Thanks very much for being with us. So let me ask you, first of all, what are your thoughts on what's been happening over the last couple of days with these talk of an imminent attack by Iran and the efforts by Western nations like the US and others to try to get them to stand down?
Well, it could be that Iran is trying to use that as leverage for the negotiations. And indeed, there has been a lot of activity. Even the Palestinian President Abbas has visited Russia to talk with the Russians and Putin specifically to try to have a bigger role in the negotiations since they have good relations with Iran. So it does seem like everything is coming to a climax. So the more Iran looks like they're going to attack, the more leverage they have at the negotiating table to be persuaded not to attack and extract some concession from that.
And as far as the prospects for a peace deal, because we seem to be on sort of two different tracks here, don't we? All the talk is that they may be close to something. Israel is sending a delegation to Doha, so perhaps hopeful signs there. But all of this going on at the same time as the possibility of an imminent attack by Iran in the region.
Yes, so from optics, it does look like Israel is the one that wants to negotiate and Iran doesn't. It would look bad if the Israeli delegation is in Qatar and Israel gets attacked by Iran. But as you mentioned earlier, Israel had committed to negotiations before and then changed their mind or changed their position. There is a sticking point. In my opinion, the bigger sticking point is the end of hostilities. Hamas is worried that the talks are going to only focus on 6 weeks of ceasefire and not an end to the war. And Hamas is clearly not interested in any negotiations that does not end in or commit to an end of the war. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is, in fact, posturing in order for each side to improve their bargaining power at the negotiating table.
So the longer this plays out and the longer that Palestinians continue to suffer in Gaza, I mean, how do you see this ending, and what does a post-war Gaza look like to you?
Well, I don't know what's left of Gaza. Unfortunately, the massacre and the mayhem has been total. Even if people survive in Gaza, the infrastructure is so depleted. I do not know how people can live there. And unfortunately, they have paid the biggest price till now. That what could stop the war is one of the parties conceding on a major point, whether it's Israel on conceding on ending the war, or Hamas conceding also on that point. I think this is the main sticking point. There might be some, unless there is some surprise event that somehow impacts Iran or impacts Israel in a major way, I do not see any way out besides one of the two sides, Hamas or Israel, conceding on their major point.
Good to get your perspective, Nizar Farsakh. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.